This is called It's All in Your Mind. This is part of the audiobook named Mind Voice Power You Already Have.
It all starts in our heads. It's all in your mind. Each of us has a brain. It is physical. It's the largest organ we have in our body. Each of us also has a mind. It is not physical. It is only mental. In our mind, we also all have the capacity to hold onto conscious thoughts in a deliberate way. Next, we need to consider our subconscious. It is where thoughts and memories exist that we are either unaware of or unable to remember and focus upon in a deliberate or conscious way. The subconscious is one especially important element of mind that I focus upon in my professional guidance, coaching, and mentoring. Each of us has the capacity to use what I choose to call our mind voice. The outcome tends to reinforce shared views of reality with other people. If we look at the past in human civilization on this planet, we can find many examples of how people once held shared views about reality, which all existed first within people's minds, but were later proven to be false or inaccurate. Reality always starts first as a mental mirror of life experiences held in someone's thoughts. This can be explained simply and directly. Perceptions of reality originate in every person's thoughts. It's all happening in your mind. What follows is also simple to explain. Because there is social comfort in having group experiences, people's shared views of reality grow from other people's thoughts collectively. That happens all the time. Shared thoughts are the basis of human culture. You may wonder, just how can it be that something which starts as strictly mental can have the power to morph into physical and tangible outcomes in the world outside of human minds? Those are the powerful outcomes which start within the human mind, motivating me to write this audiobook. In this audiobook, I explain how such physical world outcomes can and do begin in human minds. Mind voice. I chose the simple phrase, mind voice, to begin to explain. Here's how I define this term. That voice each human hears inside their head whenever they make use of their brain plus mind plus conscious thoughts plus subconscious thoughts and memories together. I want you to know that I did not invent this concept. Ancient peoples who died thousands of years ago did. Of course, back in their time, none of them had descriptive words that gave crucial names to concepts such as mind, conscious thoughts, and subconscious thoughts, words we take for granted in the present day. Ancient wisdom, as documented within historical writings in many languages all around the world over the span of many centuries, was built upon the core belief that the ways in which a person uses their mind directly affects their quality of life and their successes or failures in this world. Here is one example. A bad feeling is a commotion of the mind repugnant to reason and against nature. That's a quote from the founder of Stoicism. His name was Zeno of Citium. Here is another. A mind ruled by reason, deliberate, objective, and just, free from prejudice and delusion, unswayed by temptation, is a fortress. Take refuge within its walls, and you'll be safe and free. That's a quote from ancient Rome and Emperor Marcus Aurelius. That ancient Roman emperor clearly defined a mind-based reality which can be chosen deliberately by a person and remains free of tarnishes caused by prejudices or false beliefs or giving in to mortal temptations. In the 20th century, a British philosophical writer named James Allen assembled the wisdom of ancient peoples together within the pages of one book. His book was titled As a Man Thinketh, published in 1951. Decades later, the phrase neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, was coined to refer to a systematic approach to communication, personal development, and psychotherapy. Google neuro-linguistic programming to discover more about this. I'm convinced that most Americans prefer simple explanations over complex ones. This is why I keep using the more simple and easier to remember phrase, mind voice, in this audiobook, rather than potentially confusing terminology such as neuro-linguistic programming. I accept that thoughts, feelings, and behavior are connected and that anyone can identify and change unhelpful or inaccurate or flawed thinking to get started changing their own behaviors. My experiences over many decades taught me that it is possible to discover and implement harmony in your life by how you choose to use your mind. During the decade of the 1990s, I was introduced to the Navajo concept of Hajo while visiting their huge land area known as the Navajo Nation, located in the southwestern United States within parts of the states of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. Their word is difficult to pronounce, and it translates approximately into English as balance, harmony, and beauty. Then one day I happened to find an old book in literally a dusty used bookstore in Denver, Colorado, shortly before the dawn of the current internet era. The experience propelled me without warning into an unanticipated new direction in my life. The mental equivalent, The Secret of Demonstrations, written by Emmett Fox, was published in the 1950s. You can read his amazing book or hear an audiobook version on Amazon. The Fox Mental Equivalent book brought me my first experience with learning to improve how I used my own mind instead of allowing my mind to continue malfunctioning as it was during the early 1990s. Of course, the use of your mind voice should be taken seriously. That voice in your head is yours to put to positive use if you so choose. You can choose to rely upon your mind voice to hear and believe what you have chosen deliberately for yourself. What you put there into your mind for yourself can and will result in you acting towards pro-social and positive outcomes. You do not have to hold in your mind the power to produce anger or violence or death to anyone in the physical world. One simple secret is this: you own the space in your head between your ears, so it is yours to control as you can. Your mind will do whatever you tell it is true, until you choose to take control of your own mind and tell it specific truths that you value in your life. Don't be surprised if you experience negative consequences in your life that you do not want for yourself or your loved ones. My coaching will give you step-by-step instructions about how you create your own customized, personalized mind voice recording. That's what I call it. You keep that recording on a handheld device and also tell you how to use it to get what you want out of life. It doesn't hurt you at all. It doesn't bring harm to anyone else. In fact, it feels great, especially when you lose the day-to-day feelings of anger and frustration that have weighed you down for so long a time. My personal interest in how people use their minds dates back to when I was studying for my master's degree in the 1970s. I was introduced to what was then dominant notions about people's behaviors in terms of how people behave when they are in groups. In those days, I was one of the first researchers who examined human behaviors and communication in groups using a model named groupthink, which was a then new focus for social researchers from Yale University's Irving Janis. Groupthink is a word that originated during the 1970s. It's a theory of human interaction that describes what happens in people who choose to be closely knit and in harmony with a particular group, which emphasizes what's good for the group over what's good for one person. Such cohesive and strong groups start showing signs of thinking and decision-making which is irrational or dysfunctional. I eventually learned from pains and lessons of my own life to focus on pro-social and positive outcomes in my own life as compared to antisocial and negative social outcomes. Many not so pleasant life experiences taught me lessons I would not otherwise have learned. I'm sure of that. One of those lessons was that I should not put too much emphasis upon being accepted by a group of people whom I wanted to like and respect me. Most important of all, the emotional and physical pains I experienced in life taught me lessons to point me in the correct direction to accept how we use our minds affects everything in our life. We cannot escape and should not want to escape this essential trait of being human. How we use our minds also directly affects many people in our life who love us and who interact with us. but we each need to want to experience change, and then we need to take steps such as turning to a certified professional life and career coach to help bring about the changes we are seeking to have within us and within our lives. Since the moment you were born, your mental and emotional traits were vital to your survival in life. How well you communicate and whether you can be a leader versus a follower also are directly tied to how you use your mind. However, I am one of many who believes that how you use your mind can be changed if you make the decision to change how you use your mind. How we use our minds is not a permanent condition with which each of us is born. We each can choose to change how we use our minds at any age, no matter where we live in this world or what we do to make a living. As I discovered while conducting primary research towards my master's degree, even incredibly intelligent people can be dragged down by errors or falsehoods in group thinking. It happens every day. It is truly surprising to me that people I meet can so easily express in one way or another how they do not want even to try to create a healthier mind for themselves. They choose what an authority figure or a desirable group wants rather than arriving at what's important to their lives based on their own individual decision making. As I studied that old Emmett Fox book and learned from it, I came to understand that I had chosen to live under a set of false truths. What am I talking about? Let me give you my own specific and personal list of false truths that I once held tightly onto, which I now believe added up to causing my mind to malfunction and become unhealthy. False truth number 1. Your only happiness in life will be found in a blind and faith-based acceptance of some invisible higher power out there somewhere in the universe. False truth number 2. Life is predestined and predetermined for each of us by that higher power. You don't get to make choices in how your life turns out. Your cards are dealt from a deck that you neither understand nor control. You grow up and become an adult once you learn to play the cards you were dealt and stop whining. And finally, false truth number 3. If you do not find either happiness or success in your life, that is due to the fact that the higher power does not want you to be happy or successful. So just get over any disappointment you may happen to feel and seek comfort in hanging out with other people who believe in and trust the higher power as the final and ultimate control over all living things. My particular list of false truths came to an unexpectedly sudden end of relevance for me and my life around the time I turned 40 and got divorced from my wife of nearly 14 years. Yeah, a divorce can really shake a person up quite a bit emotionally, and that is what I admit happened to me. But after my divorce, I discovered the writings of Emmett Fox, and I started to realize that there was hope for me as someone who was single once again. So who is this guy who changed my thinking? Emmett Fox lived from 1886 to 1951. He grew up in Ireland and received his formative education in a Jesuit institution within the Roman Catholic Church. He departed from Catholicism and became an active proponent of the New Thought religious movement developed in the United States during the 19th century. The belief system of that particular religious movement, greatly oversimplified here, started with the premise that along with a belief in Almighty God, one's mental condition controls and influences their overall health and well-being. As I studied what Emmett Fox wrote, I made a deliberate choice to disregard all the religious aspects it contained. Why did I do that? The choice for me was simple and logical for me to make. I was born and raised in the Roman Catholic Church like Emmett Fox was. I attended Catholic school from grade 1 through 12. Today, I deeply respect the Jesuits and their particular brand of education, even though I never was schooled by Jesuits. I did wonder, however, why Fox chose not to stay with what the talented and wise Jesuits had taught him. My having been born and raised into the Roman Catholic Church minus any Jesuit education did not necessarily produce happiness and success in my life. Most importantly for me, beginning at a very young age, around 10 or 11, I began to deny that I had been born a gay male. I refused to accept who I really was as far as my sexual orientation goes, because my Roman Catholic upbringing and education taught me that being gay was sinful or evil, something to be avoided, something to be fought against, something nobody should ever want for themselves. The basic problem I found within that Roman Catholic upbringing and socialization was that nobody could tell me how to end being gay. I was taught that self-pleasure was forbidden because it was a sin, and I would go to hell if I touched myself in an impure manner. I was taught that the pleasures of the flesh when two people are sexually intimate was a sin, and I would go to hell if I did that. No masturbation, no intimate sexual contact. Yeah, that was a recipe for ruin. It was a pack of lies that made no sense in the real world in which I was growing up. Nobody in the Roman Catholic Church could tell me how to end being gay. What was I supposed to do? Who could help me figure out how to live with what seemed like persistent, unstoppable feelings of sexual attraction I felt towards other males? Where was the Roman Catholic Church when I needed them the most? They were nowhere. They could not help me. The Roman Catholic Church never had any specific recommended actions to give me to end being gay. Oh yeah, the Roman Catholic Church had one word. They loved the word. And the word was abstinence. What a concept, right? Are you kidding me? The Roman Catholic Church in those days expected all of us young boys to understand a fancy word at age 10. Abstinence. It was impossible at age 10 to grasp. All of the Roman Catholic priests I knew from Catholic school left the priesthood eventually. Why? So they could marry women. Yeah, that's right. They were terrific role models of abstinence, weren't they? What a joke. I was handed a big word, and the big word was a falsehood, something impossible to act upon. The big word provided no options for how one should live in the real world. Just say no. Just say no. Where have you gone, Nancy Reagan? What were you babbling on about? Just say no. Just 3 words, useless words at best. Back in the real world, I ended up causing emotional pain for myself because of my sustained denials about my sexual orientation due to the restrictions placed upon me by a centuries-old organized religion from Rome. Just say no. Just trust Rome. Yeah, that idea. I was not alone in this. I had been immersed with many others of my peers in the teachings and dogmas of the Roman Catholic Church, which I was told consistently during my youth was the one true church compared to all other religions on this planet. That was not a sustainable belief for me. How did I adjust? Well, you know where this is going. I came to accept that a natural outcome for me was to become atheistic. That process began for me when I reached the age of 13. So I cannot and will not fault Emmett Fox for not having stayed with Catholicism, since I did the same or similar things that he did. Emmett Fox was correct about how to use your mind. He deserves respect for that. But each person must choose whether or not they want to align with any organized religion if that alignment does not provide real-world and actionable behaviors.